Unclear.
Let's check Facebook. I see
we're
me.
live. I see myself too. Okay, hey everybody. If you can see me, I know that I can, and so can Jaemeel Robinson. As we're here to break down the week 7 premiere, I'm sorry, it's week 8 now. Week 8 premiere of Big Brother 22 All Stars here on Super Mader Brothers Podcasting. Jaemeel, Jeff Mader is we don't know where he is. We hope he's okay wherever he is, but he's not here. So you and I will march ahead.
I absolutely understand he's probably playing some mini golf. He got the itch after watching the episode, and he headed straight to the course.
He knows
can
that the
understand.
money's in that. That's where
Yeah.
the money's at, in the mini putt. And Jeff, I thought he would be into this competition tonight, as we saw some interesting takes. I thought that the strategy of this competition was interesting, but again, it's favoring a very particular skill set, and it's allowing the Power Alliance to run this season continually. Like, they don't need any more assistance. If I had a comment, I suppose. Yeah, so let's get into this episode. As we saw that Cody ends up becoming the HOH, despite that Danny uses this power on Memphis to allow him to play again, even though he doesn't really want it, but he feels like he has to go along with it. But he gets a 5, which would have tied David, as we see later on, as David was very close to becoming HOH here. Ends up coming
Kevin, actually. David got a 7, I believe.
Oh, right. No, Kevin had a 5, but then went again. He hummed and he hawed for a long time, and he eventually settled on the fact that he was not, or he was going to go again, and he just went out of bounds. And he was much better off with his 5, which ultimately wouldn't have held up to Cody anyway. Cody, I think, ends up with a 3. Cody, he's good at things. He's good. He was bred for this.
He was bred for this. I just find it kind of curious that we didn't actually see, all of his shots. We only saw one of his shots. We only shot one of his shots, and then the replay of the winning shot is what we saw.
Yeah, we didn't quite see the ending. Jane, my wife, as you know, in our draft has David and has been cheering for him all season long, despite the fact that the fans, maybe even his own family, have turned on him. They've no longer, think he's going to succeed, but Jane does. Jane has never lost faith. He came close here, but it is not going to happen. Is often the case. These underdog stories typically do not pay off. And I don't know, like, David's HOH would have been fascinating to see play out, as opposed to Cody, who we see is continuing with this methodical, no, I need to get up people who don't like me. And then this conversation that ends the episode with Kevin and Cody, in which Kevin, look, I have been hard on Kevin this season. He's not my favorite. And I think he has dug his own grave largely. But I thought that he finally was starting to grow some balls, if you will. He was having a backbone, trying to stand up to Cody. Cody did not respond well to it.
Well, this is like one of the first times that Cody has ever had anyone talk back to him, right? And you can kind of understand that he wasn't really prepared for that type of discussion. But he has to realize that these conversations are going to be coming, where this alliance is going to be, kind of imploding on itself. And there's going to be some hurt feelings because everyone believes there are different places of the pecking order. So Kevin, in a roundabout way, did Cody a little favor to get him prepared for it. Now, for Kevin's perspective, you know what? Sometimes it's better to go out, standing than on your knees. And that was definitely Kevin's approach to this episode. He saw the writing on the wall, which had him on the block, and most likely him or David was going to go out. It wasn't a matter of someone else was going to get like the funny thing about it is you still hear comments about I don't know who. I think there's a big alliance in this house. It's like, seriously, David? Seriously, dude? And he's like, oh, and Cody is the one who's put me up. I think he's part of it. I'm like, come on. Everyone but you two, has to be on it. There's only one person still on the in the house that has been on the block, and that was Tyler, and that was like referenced as a mistake. So I
Right.
don't know what he's thinking.
Why is this the case, Jamil? Why do these house guests not take so long? Why are they fooled for so long that these big alliances are there, that they're pulling the strings, that one after another you see sort of well, clearly it's the people not in the alliance, but more than that, it's the people that are not connected to this other group of people who are clearly well connected to each other. Why does it take so long for them to figure it out?
Maybe they just believe in these other people. Like, I don't think they're doing this magical miss job where it's like Kevin, Day, and all the others were just confused by the clever gameplay and the trickery that was going around. It's just a combination of everyone staying loyal to the alliance, and then the other side isn't really testing the other side to see where their loyalty stand, right? And the
Mm-hmm.
moment that you have to vote against your alliance, you're put in that tough spot is where the rubber hits the road. And outside of Tyler momentarily being on the block, right, there hasn't been much hardship for this alliance. So they've never been in a situation where they have to prove themselves. And the
Right. Well,
people who are on the outs of the alliance are the people that have put themselves in a kind of uncomfortable situation, but it was easily solved. But the rest of the alliance remembers it with Danny and Nicole.
yeah. So they feel like they've somehow, or like they deserve what they have, or their lot in life, or their position in the house, if you will. If it's not like having in like, and the term they often use is like talking game. I don't talk much game with so and so. I hardly ever talk game with this person. Yeah, maybe you talk over a bowl of cereal in the morning about your families or your where you went to school or whatever, you however you pass these days together. But I don't know how I could live with myself in the house, Jamil, if I was in that place all that time to talk to just these handful of people. I would be talking game, even if it was fake game, with them all the time, because that's my job. Like, what else am I there to do,
Yeah.
right? So unless like they're just giving you nothing, but
Like
I
even
don't know.
conversations about like how do you like if you get to the end, how do you foresee your final speech? Um how do you want to present yourself? Do you think you're going to be better at part one um, or part three of the final HOH or the final HOH? Do you see that? Would you rather win HOH in final four? You're more focused on veto? It doesn't really matter with HOH, right?
Right.
Like these are the type of questions. Like even if it seems very simple, it's still technically game. You're still getting like a temperature check on how these people are like thinking about the game, right? Even if you
Mm-hmm.
talk about past game and just say, hey, you saw how Dan led up to 14, or you saw how Tyler was heading up to 14, to 18, 17. I always get
Dan.
no, Tyler. Tyler's season was
Tyler was in 20, wasn't he?
20. Jeez. Okay. Um, do you think Tyler should have done something differently? And if he did, if you were in his place, what would you do? Like something like that. Like you don't even have to talk about this particular game. You can put them in a scenario of a previous game and ask them how they would approach it. They could lie, but it's still talking the game in general.
But you don't want to be too direct, right? Like you want to go. I wouldn't go up to you. Let's say you're in the house, I'm in the house, and you're just sitting there, maybe just looking out the window or whatever, and I say, hey, Jamil, how's it going? And like we don't know each other, but we're in this house together. This is so many weeks in, right? Yeah, yeah, and I so hey, like, how's it going with you? Or who are you working with? Would that be like too direct to say, or?
I'm working with
Uh,
everyone in the house. Honestly, I'm just getting a good insight about how people are. There's a lot of good people in this house. A lot of good people in this house. Who are you working with? And just immediately just turn it around on you. Like who
Right.
you work with?
Yeah, like you said nothing, and then you put me on the spot, and I go, "Oh, I'm also working with everybody," and now we don't have any trust, right? So, how do you? What's the situation?
But then it would be, I gave a fake answer for you to give a fake answer, right? But I would
Mhm.
either need to wrap it up in terms of like a personal like conversation, or like real game talk that wouldn't like put you in a bad spot, because I would understand that me asking that question and you asking that question to me is going to put me in a bad spot, right?
Right. Okay. So yeah, and so that's the obvious thing here is like I'm asking you to expose yourself, but I'm giving you nothing in return.
Yeah.
So somehow I have to plant a seed of trust. So I have to we have to somehow exchange a small piece of information with one another that can lead to trust that we can build on to something else, right?
Which would be the first, if this is an all-star season, I'll be like, I watched your season, man, you were great, or you were given a raw deal. I was pulling for you, I voted for you for America's favorite player. um, Let me ask you a question, like when you were on blah 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 and then you did this important move, whatever it may be, what do you think was the outcome that you were expecting, or did you expect it to work? Because I thought it was gonna, what you did was good enough, right? And then
Mm-hmm.
like you want to build those bridges, right? Right? One, you want to know, you want the person to know that you know about them and you respect their game in some way, right? Regardless of if you do or not, that you know of them, like, because no one wants to be unknown, especially in all-star season, like and then third, you also want them to start talking about themselves, about their past glory, right? And how much you were a fan, right? You already want them to think of, this dude likes me, right? So I have Jaemeel in my pocket, right? And it might not be immediate that they start spilling stuff, but you want them to believe that you're on their side. I'm on their side, right? So
Right. And so obviously that's not that hard of a thing to do because Kevin, Davon, all the people that have been Ian, these people that have been evicted, particularly after the jury phase here, but even earlier than that, Bailey, people who thought they were in much better positions were not, were cut. And they're kind of seeing their numbers dwindle because they didn't want to believe that they would have to fight against these more intimidating people like Cody, like Tyler. And did they have a point? Or can you understand where they were coming from? Because here we see Cody win this HOH, and we saw Memphis have the one before. And it's like, how are you ever going to beat these people unless you actually beat them in these competitions and go on a run? But if it's like I'm of fair athletic ability, I am like compared to my brother Jeff, I am not as good, right? So there are different skill levels. That's just talent people are sometimes are born with. Like it's not always just about effort and
but you got
if
to know
you
your skills too,
right.
right? And then when something falls in your wheelhouse, you got to make sure that you play it right, because like if Cody like smashes it and totally messes up, he's like, that was mine to lose, right? Davon's was a number challenge. She had that on lock. It was hers to lose, right? And she lost it. That's the difference between her and like a Cody. Like Cody and them,
Cody's
they're
clutch.
exactly the clutch. Davon is not, right? How? But like, here's a question I have to ask, and we could probably ask. Like, I haven't listened to the interviews to find out. Did they throw every single HOH, or were they trying for every single one? I think that there were some that they were trying more than others, right? And if you're in a
Yes.
and if you're in lack of, like, if you don't have a secure position, you gotta you gotta make moves to make sure that you can. And if your social game is not up to par, you're gonna have to do it with power, right? And
Right.
I feel like they weren't, like, I don't think all the horses are running as they should be. They weren't together, and they got scattered, and they put their faith in people, and they didn't want any power on their hands. Devon, as a player, especially how she played, having a social game as your primary weapon shouldn't have been her focus. She should have been looking to have power, and then just like how Memphis did it, just like how Cody did it, you win, you set yourself off, and then you go into the in the back. Her social game would have carried her the rest of the way, right? But the fact that she didn't do that was a fault. Was a fault of her. Too many social people, but not winners, and that's the problem.
There's a lot of there's a problem with this cast because this cast is definitely a certain type of archetype. They were going for competitors, which I think was good, but the problem is that the competitors got all together, so they tried to have this mix. I would rather see um, um something that had like any whatever kind of walk of life you are, whoever you are, you can come in here and at least win a couple competitions, because they should be a little bit more mental, I think, than who can last on a balance beam or who can win miniature golf. Like that's I think that should be part of it. I think because there are different types of intelligence, and I think you're trying to give power to people who have different kinds of intelligence. So we have these true false things. I feel like we haven't had a ton of that this year, and again, this alliance is strong. So like I think
we've only had two of those type of mental comms.
Only two. So it's been the disparity is there between the types of competitions. It seems like it's been more hand-eye coordination driven, or it's been more like balance or time focused, like running or whatever, something along those lines. I think the one that they did where Christmas ended up as the HOH, I thought was the best competition, the one that Davon choked on, and ultimately
Davon and Bailey, throw both of them under the bus because they did horrible.
Right. So is it their own fault? Yes, but the problem here is that like Christmas, Cody, Memphis, and Tyler in particular, these four in particular being all aligned together, has been unstoppable in terms of the competitions. And plus they have Enzo in their pocket. So with him, like, who else has won a competition? Kevin won one veto, took himself down once, I think. And beyond that, I think, and Davon won one veto.
Yeah.
Right. And that's fine. But that's not enough to earn any kind of currency in this house.
I'm just thinking, has anyone else not a part of the alliance has won a competition with the exception of Davon? And no, Davon. I still count Enzo as part of that side of the house. So besides Kevin and Davon, has anyone else won at any HOH or veto? Like, so Bailey didn't win anything. Ian didn't win anything. KSR didn't win anything. And I'm not counting Safety Suite. Janelle, Nicole, and Keisha. None of them have won anything. The other side of the house has won every single thing except two, and that's kind of ridiculous.
It's crazy. Yeah, like, so if you're gonna put like this, like, just put 16 Cody and Christmas type players in the house if you want to have this kind of a show where it's just like the utmost, like, it's almost like the pro athlete version of Big Brother, where you
pros versus Joes
or I don't know what the heck you do with it, but it's no fun to watch an inferior opponent get crushed, right? And but so it's socially and physically they are dominating this game, right?
And the expectation of, hey, we're coming now to where it's just the individuals in the alliance, and there has to be someone at the bottom. So usually someone at the bottom makes a play using the remaining fragments of those outside the alliance. They're not doing that at all.
Yeah, in past seasons, you would have seen like a big alliance like this implode, and we're starting to see cracks here. We're starting to see little cracks of this committee. Like we know that Nicole and Danny are sort of fracturing in some ways, or between the two of them, and also from the alliance. But it's also a matter of that they're just like, no. Cody's like, no, I'm HOH, and I'm definitely going to take out the person like Kevin, who I've put up so many times. Why would I want to keep this guy around? And I get it. But it's not fun to watch. And this is like part of the reason I don't like to always watch like a lot of pro sports sometimes, because it gets so overcoached or it becomes so overthought that there's no randomness to it, and that takes away some of the entertainment value.
You want parody. You want
some parody, yeah. And so like throw some twists, like throw some America votes in here where the audience can maybe sabotage the players they don't like, and or something like that. But I don't know.
The first time in a long time there isn't like America involved to kind of interfere with the game. We get pure Big Brother, and there's this dominant alliance that just basically runs ramshot over it. Like, this is the worst season for them to do this.
Well, they were smart. They were smart in like if you don't care about making a good TV show, which I don't think this alliance does. I think this alliance cares about making money and doing as well at this as they can. And maybe that's the lesson they learned from their previous seasons. Is like, what do I care about how popular I am or whatever? I'll get my celebrity appearances. I'll get my stipends. But really, I for someone like Cody who didn't get that 500,000, right? He's regretting that. This is his redemption 5 years later, and he's not gonna do something. He's not gonna put Tyler on the block or something like extreme like that just because that would be good entertainment. Because remember, he wanted to do those things years ago. He wanted to like take shots at like even I think it was Beast Mode Cowboy and whatever, right? And he didn't. They play a smart game, a methodical game, a boring game. And I'm just kind of like, okay, then let's get rid of the Kevins and the Davids, I guess. So we got to wait 3 more weeks or at least 2 more weeks for you to like get those 2 out. And then you can finally start to play. We can actually see some kind of entertainment. Oh, we lost Kevin or Jaemeel. I'm sorry. From there, this has been happening a little bit. He should be back momentarily. Oh, yeah, that was a quick one.
Don't worry.
No worry.
Oh my god.
Oh, good.
I want to keep going. You were on a roll. I like it.
Yeah, like it's almost like, okay, like why did the producers not want to try to do something here, because they have to be fully aware that this is what's happening, and they know it's within the rules, so they have to allow it to go on. But what's also within the rules is the producers can make up crazy things just to throw in to see if it's going to happen. This is the Hunger Games, just without the murder, right? Like, this is also we're also here. We should be able to like send packages to the house guests or
Pandora's
something like
box shows up.
Pandora's box.
If Pandora's box showed up, do you think someone would open it?
Well, they haven't done it in a long time, right? Like, I think you have to make it more tempting than not tempting. But I don't think you randomize it. I think you have to say like who are the underdogs we're cheering for right now? Like, if it had been like Davon last week, right? We would have said, okay, let's protect Davon. So Davon, you've won protection or something.
Are they going to break out Pandora's box for David? Is what you're saying? And they would not.
Not for David. Not for Kevin.
I don't. Well, if Kevin was doing this from weeks on end, definitely. But like, it's a little too late, I feel. Like, where was that fire? All he's been doing is crying and moping.
David?
Yeah. No, sorry.
Kevin.
Kevin.
Well, he's all outraged because I don't know. Like, I think that if anything, this season should be a cautionary tale to players, especially returning players. When you get in there, you need to fight for your life. You can't just hope that you're going to skate by. I understand that mindset. In the past seasons, that sometimes works. Maybe in Kevin's original season, which I think is BB11, right? Maybe that worked, but that doesn't work with this particular house dynamic. Davon tried it. Ian was trying it. Like, they've all sort of been like, oops, I've been caught. I've been caught here sort of floating, hovering in the shadows, hoping that I'm not the bigger target. And then eventually that they're just counting on the fact that Tyler and Cody have to go after each other, that Memphis and Cody have to go after each other. Like nah. Why? We'll just get rid of it. Why reward you guys? And so they feel more tight with them. So that's what we get. So I don't know. It is what it is, but I think that there are potential fixes that you can put in place to make this more entertaining in the future.
I agree. In the future, unfortunately, it doesn't seem right now. So we have to deal with what we have to deal with. And the hope is that things, at least as things start to implode, that it gets interesting. This is all dependent on how the votes go, how next week's HOH goes with the triple. There's a lot of things
coming this week. Yeah, and they have no idea, but they have to. I think that they have to be at least anticipating that a double is possible this week.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I think we talked previously, and the thought was the triple was going to be BB Can Styles, but what I keep hearing is that's going to be 2, like a back-to-back HOH. So 3 HOHs and 2 POVs happening.
So not the BB Can format for triple eviction as
Correct.
we know it.
Because it's 2 hours.
Okay, well, and that's, I don't know, like the BB Can format is controversial. It's not universally loved by fans, but some people do like it. It's different than the US version. So perhaps the US is better to try this. We can see which one we prefer. And if Canada, and maybe Canada can adopt the US way of doing a triple eviction if it works better. There's no reason to just be different for the sake of it. Just like in Canadian football, the field is bigger and wider. For what
Less
reason?
downs. One less down.
Less downs, bigger balls. It does. We don't really know why anymore. It is what it is. But Jaemeel, I also want to ask you another question about tonight's episode, which was about Danny and Nicole, because neither of them would admit that they were the other vote in last week's or this past Thursday's eviction with Davon. That they were both pandering for Davon's vote. They both pretty much admitted to that in their diary room sessions. But if Nicole and Danny are playing mistrustful with each other, then who exactly are they working with, if not each other?
Their thought process is that they're working with everyone else. Because they're coming close to, the eventual implosion of the group, the thought process is I need to cut ties with my duo so that I'm able to be picked up by anyone who is in power. Otherwise, the mistakes of Danny will look bad on Nicole. The mistakes of Nicole will look bad on Danny. So that's their thought process. That's it.
Is that rational for them, like with the information they have?
Well, seeing as neither of them want HOH, yes, it is rational.
But okay, and is it the smart game move, I guess, would be the follow-up question, because should they not try to keep their alliance in their duo strong, or does it just put a target on both of them and they should try to distance each other directly or indirectly?
It's a fine line that they have to walk, because if they teeter on one side, then the alliance will get frustrated and put both of them up.
Yeah, it's so this is where Nicole will start shaking her boots. Can she survive when the committee has to go to internal committee? Start cuts, and she has no longer the safety until the final 6, or I suppose it will be at that point. Nicole, what will she do? Will she hide behind Cody? Will Cody want to work with her? Who will Cody want to work with down the stretch? We also saw this conversation tonight, which we need to talk about, which was Enzo telling Cody about the wise guys thing, because we talked about that this was not a terrible idea that Memphis had. He's like, okay, Enzo, you and I will go and make a deal with Cody and make a final 3. But then we're going to turn around and we're going to make a final 3 with Christmas, and we're going to call the alliance the same thing. And I thought that Memphis did a decent enough job, at least in the TV episode, of explaining this to Enzo. But I don't think Enzo understood what the hell was going on here, because in Enzo's mind, it was like, no, the real alliance is with Cody. The fake one is with Christmas to Enzo. Is that exactly what happened here? Or was he actually trying to throw Memphis under the bus?
He's throwing Memphis totally under the bus, because at the end of the day, as long as Cody doesn't say anything, that means Cody is going to choose Enzo over Memphis, right? At the same time, Cody is going to choose Enzo over Christmas, because he knows that Memphis and Christmas are together, or the impression is. Whereas if Cody gets taken out, Memphis is still clean, right? If Christmas gets taken out, Enzo is still clean, right? Cody's not going to tell anyone about this. Well, he told Nicole, but still, right? Which I think that was a bad move for Cody. He should have kept that there. Nicole stepped in with that conversation because she wanted Danny on the block. Because if Danny's put on the block with Kevin, there's a chance to take out Danny early, and then it wouldn't be on her. Like, she wouldn't have to do any of the dirty work. Cody has already, right? So
okay, yeah. So and this is classic Franzel, and it's also Christmas. Not like to do this too, because how many women do we have left? 3, right? And so Nicole is eager to get one of the only women up, Danny, but Christmas would be just as happy to do so. Is there strategy in being only one of a few gender of that gender left, particularly if you're female, because I think that their mindset is very much what the Kevin mindset has been, and the other players who have been part of this alliance. Well, eventually these big meatheads have to go after each other. So what if Danny's out and there's fewer like social threats, then I will be at the bottom of everybody's shopping list in terms of like when we have to start cutting certain types of players, because Frenzel's not a competition threat, maybe unless it's straight on like cardio running, was probably the only time, and maybe balance like things like wall challenges, things like that. But generally, she's not the strongest.
For Nicole's end game, she needs to get to the end, and then she has to hang her hat on that. She was a previous winner and she got to the end. If she won any competitions, it would put too much of a target on her. So she didn't win any competitions. She just threw everything. She relied on her social game. That's going to be a thought process. I don't think she's necessarily going to say about being a woman per se. Danny, she's won HOHs, right? She's won one HOH or two. One.
Yeah.
One HOHs. So at the very least, she has a competition under her belt. So does Christmas. Christmas has a HOH and a veto under her belt. So I don't think the women are gonna per se say like use the gender. As
you don't think that
argument.
that's as much on their mind as maybe it might be?
Oh,
for us.
sorry. Let me rephrase that. They definitely want to be the last woman standing. They have no intention.
They all want to be last woman standing.
Yeah, they don't
want to be like, and the final five will be made up of 3 girls. They're not thinking like that.
They're not thinking that.
No. Okay. And okay, is there a strategy to that? Like, because we've seen that there's been this talk like women stick together, and I know in workplaces it can be a very powerful thing. I know, but in Big Brother it tends to not work as well. At least there have been exceptions in other reality competitions, but the strong all-female alliance, or just being okay with being like, I'm one of only 2 women left, or the last woman standing. I think there are multiple.
If there are multiple women left, there will be a thought process, and Enzo's going to have it like, yo, we can't let these women get to the end because they're going to team up and take us out, regardless of their affiliation. If it was Danny and Christmas, who look like they don't like each other at all, Enzo will still say the exact same thing, right?
Let's say Danny goes next, and let's say Christmas went after that. Okay, hypothetically, right? After this week. Then Nicole is left. It's Nicole, Tyler, Enzo, Cody, David, and have I forgotten anybody? Tyler. Yeah, I think that would be it, right? So it'd be those 5, right? So is Nicole now safer? Is she a better position because of who's left, right?
Absolutely. Right? Because they're like, Nicole hasn't won anything, so we don't have to worry about it.
Right. She's not a threat. So Nicole is always like pushing the girl sort of ahead of her in line. She's like, her next, right? So she'll she has no loyalty to that sort of.
The only person she has to worry about is if
not that she should,
Enzo. But she only has to worry about if Enzo or possibly Christmas win HOH, right? And then she'll be put on the block. Other than that, I think Tyler and Cody would both protect her. So
Tyler and Cody both like Nicole, will protect Nicole?
Yeah, I believe so.
Who will target Nicole in the end? Who will be the most likely if somebody's going to get to put Nicole up and get rid of her?
Enzo.
Backdoor or not? Enzo. It's Enzo.
In a heartbeat.
So is Enzo the hero we deserve but don't need right now, or is it the other way around? The hero we need right now but don't deserve?
Enzo has a compelling story because he can say that he wasn't in the commission.
He wasn't in the commission, but he was never really in danger. He was sort of this loyal soldier. We saw that, he was talking about he was going for the money tonight. He didn't get the money in this competition. And, but he was talking about, I guess, he could really use the money. I don't really know what his situation is, but it's maybe
he needs an 80-inch widescreen TV to replace
75-inch TV. So he's
80 because he has to replace the 75 one that he already has.
Yeah. Okay. So if you have an 80-inch TV, you're okay. I don't know. We can go by the TV metric, but he's not. Maybe he's got kids. He's got other considerations. I don't know. So it's everyone's got their own things in life. So maybe he's sort of like the Bruce Springsteen type working class hero of this season potentially. Who is that guy from the blue collar, white collar, no collar Survivor season? Mike.
Mike who went on a immunity run.
Yeah, you know no, but remember the Mike who went on to win that, the postman guy. He was sort of the blue collar hero of that season, and I can see like maybe Enzo is a compelling character for us to cheer for. Somebody who never really lost his integrity, never really looked bad. Other than he was saying meow meow or whatever, and he could be the guy. He takes down Nicole Franzel. He takes down Danny. Whatever.
Because everyone in the game, in the commission, and also Enzo has either been final 2 or final 3.
Mm-hmm.
I think so, right?
Enzo, what was Enzo? I have it here somewhere.
Was Enzo final 3, or was it final 4?
I think he was a little lower than that. I'm just looking that up right now.
I thought it was the second. He was in third place.
Enzo was third place in his season, which was
third
12.
place. Yes. So third place, Cody second place, Tyler second place, Franzel won, Danny got second place, and Christmas got third place. So yeah, everyone is top 3 at least,
except for David.
And David. And David.
And David. He's an all-star. Okay, so I think we've talked about pretty much everybody and everything.
Yeah. Did you like the fact that you did not see the have-nots? They didn't do the have-nots.
So they still had have-nots. They just didn't discuss it whatsoever.
Yep. So
why have it if you're not going to talk about it on the show?
Because they rather show Nicole being adorkable with that Enzo scene.
Oh, that was terrible.
It was terrible. That is narrative manipulation, folks. Narrative manipulation. Yeah. They want you to like Nicole because she's
okay.
adorable.
So who did Cody and Christmas pick to be have-nots? Because they were not happy about being picked to be have-nots last time, as I recall.
Yes, I believe Christmas chose Kevin, and Cody. Enzo volunteered for Cody, I believe.
Okay, so do you think that maybe had led to Kevin's ramped up energy or sort of sass when he was talking to Cody?
Well, I believe that Christmas was being a B about it. Christmas is also being a B about not winning HOH. She was huffing and puffing about it.
Yeah, they talked. Okay, we didn't quite get into that, but this whole competition, is that because she hates losing a competition? She's a competitor, or did she have something against Cody winning?
I think she wanted the power.
Tyler, to have the power?
No, well, I think she wanted herself to have the power. She's kind of disappointed that she didn't have it. So she kind of has to go with the house. Right.
And so that's creating waves in her alliance.
Because people don't like, she is an open book when she, like, you see a nomination, she's like smirking. It's like, come on, man. Like, can you at least have a poker face, man? Just, jeez. It's like, you're not on the block. You haven't even touched the block, and look how you're acting.
She went out 1 week as a pawn, but it was like she was.
She volunteered.
She volunteered. And when
with
Enzo
no
was
chance.
HOH.
Yeah,
with no chance that time.
Yeah,
of going at that point. Yeah, and this whole competition. So okay, we saw there that Tyler and Danny get split this $10,000. There were only a few who actually went for it in a serious way, because I would have used 1 ball on the money and 2 on the HOH. I think that's what the choice I would have made, because I think having power is more. What choice would you have made, Jaemeel?
First 2 shots HOH. If I got a high enough number, a low enough number, actually, then I would have went for the money.
Okay, so you would like reserve for that 3rd one, right? Because I think
with the choice to change to like it being HOH again, if like let's say I had 2 out of bounds, I'm like, I got to get on the board.
Yeah. No, I understand that. Yeah, I think that this was kind of an interesting attempt. I think that Cody not being tempted by it, was interesting, and then goes on to win it. Doesn't care about the money. He's here to win 500,000. He's not here to win 10,000. I respect it. I respect it again. I think Cody's not a fun player to watch, but I think he's a very methodical, straight up player. I think that's very much what Derek's style of play was, and his mentor, if you will. And he's just following that same gameplay as we've seen, and I respect it, but I don't want to watch it.
It's boring.
All right, let's get into spoilers and find out what's going on in the house and the veto.
So boring.
Okay, so we heard from Daryl Clark, Jaemeel, that
Yes.
the veto was played. I don't know if we have all of the competitors listed on terms of who was.
I didn't look it up. I should have looked it up. Sorry. I should have looked it up. Who played in the veto?
Well, I know who won the veto.
Yes.
We can just skip right to that.
Was he bred for it?
He was bred for this.
Congratulations, Cody.
Yep.
That's right. Cody is the winner of the veto as well. So he has all the power this week, heading into this triple eviction, Jaemeel.
Yep.
And we assume he'll keep his nominations the same. Oh, there goes Jaemeel. We assume that he'll keep his nominations the same at this moment. At least that's unless I get some new information.
Yes.
Yes.
You assume he'll keep the nominations the same as what you said.
Yeah.
Go
ahead.
So he was. I think he's going to keep it the same. He was a little bit disappointed that David did not win. He wanted David to win, and that's been a little bit of a stickling point in the house. So David ended up going for the money during OTEV, and he won the money, and he didn't win. He didn't go for HOH, and people are like, he's feeling a little bit too comfortable.
Veto, you mean?
For veto, yeah. Maybe he should be voted out. I can't believe you're on the block and you didn't go for veto. But supposedly he felt he couldn't win the veto, and two, whatever it was requiring arm strength, and he hurt himself. So he felt he just went for the easier thing, which was for the money. And I assume from the conversations, lack of conversations, that Kevin did his usual garbage job as typical. So,
okay, question here. Well, okay, so I guess they this play, and I want to ask you more about their bitterness towards David over not competing in the veto enough or whatever. But I guess we got to the Noms or the veto meeting, and JJ is saying that Cody regret keeping Noms the same. So we have to assume that they are the same, or he is going to keep them the same.
Well, Monday is going to be the nomination.
So it hasn't happened yet?
No, not yet.
Okay, and then from Daryl here, he says Kevin, David, Cody, Tyler, Nicole, Enzo played in the veto. Okay, that's who was in it.
Okay. Do you know what how many times Tyler's played in vetoes in the last 2 seasons he's played?
Almost all of them. Hasn't he played in almost every veto?
I think it's 19 out of 22
Does that
vetoes
seem
he's played
statistically unlikely to you?
Yeah. Yeah. That is crazy. That's almost impossible.
JJ saying, could Cody evict? Cody could evict the person who will evict him this week. Does that make sense? How could he evict the person who evicts him?
Evict the person who will evict Cody this week. Well, I guess in terms of like, if Kevin or David survive, right? Then and they win HOH, they would be gutting for Cody. So therefore, indeed, Cody could have eliminated the person that could eliminate him later on this week.
Right. Daryl's saying that David opted out of this veto for $10,000. Is that a bad move for David?
If he didn't have a chance to win, I could understand that type of logic, but I'm a hopeless romantic, and
if he got the money, he probably came pretty close.
to the end. Yeah.
That's usually how those things work.
Yeah, but
Usually
would you
the money
rather?
goes to the runner-up.
Well, what people are saying is that, hey, if you went for the money, maybe you went for the money as well in the Gulf as well, and they're shifting the blame on him. The feeling in the house is that David did a weak move by going for the money.
Okay, but they think that what does it matter? He doesn't have the respect anyway. So I understand. Okay, he went for a weak move. It weakens his chances to win. So why would you want? Does that make you want to get rid of him more or less? It should make you want to get rid of him less.
Well, they're telling. Well, David is saying that he's donating all of his extra winnings to BLM, and Cody's like, okay, we'll tell everyone that so that they don't look down at you, right? And because Cody wants David to stay. Cody wants.
You
David.
think that they might use this as a rally cry to get rid of David?
Look, they're looking for any reason to get rid of these folks. So if one of them sneezes in someone's face, they're gonna get eliminated. So
yeah. And Kevin stays around for another week to go on the block again next week, or maybe twice.
What are you gonna worry about?
If we're really lucky, okay, Kevin will not go this week. It will be David, and then we are going to see Kevin go on the block not once but twice in that triple eviction. Maybe going in the second hour.
What is Spencer's record for most times on block?
It's like 10, I think.
It's-
JJ's second question here is related to his first question. If Cody keeps Noms the same, will he regret it? So should he? Who would he put up? Who would his number one choice to put up would be?
Well, he wanted to put up Christmas, but Nicole wants him to put up Danny, which I think is a foolish move.
I don't think Cody's going to do either of those things. So I think whether should he? No, I want Cody to do something wild and actually take a shot at his own, at his own alliance, and let's mix this game up.
The only thing that makes sense is getting rid of Christmas, because the hope is that Nicole is gunning for Danny and Danny's gunning for Nicole, especially if Tyler tells Danny or someone tells Danny that Nicole was coming after her, right? And then the focus is on other people and not necessarily Cody or Tyler. From their perspective, mind you.
Question, or just comment from Daryl. He's saying that Memphis was in charge of this POV. The 6 house guests had to hustle in this fast-paced musical chair style contest, and Cody came out on top. Well, I'd pick Cody to win on musical chairs, too.
They couldn't do a math one, or the spelling one.
Next comment here is David snowing us by saying he will donate the money to BLM while he never talks about BLM. Jaemeel, you want to take this one? I don't know how to quantify that.
In the grand scheme of things, does it even matter? I don't honestly care what if they're saying they're going to donate to charity. They could be donating to charity. They could be donating to the charity of their own family pockets. Doesn't really matter. You're going to have to distinguish between game and the game. Did it show up on the screen?
Yeah, because he's asking, will David want to try to repair his bad reputation with the community, with the BLM
with
community?
Okay.
Which community specifically?
Yeah,
by saying he will done it. If it's the community of David's, because the people named David, he is not welcome right now in our community because he needs to, start playing better. But and live up to the underdog of the David versus Goliath. But Jaemeel.
So in terms of the black community.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't have a bad rep because he's where he needs to repair it. Him winning would do a great job of repairing his bad rep with the BB community. No one who's going to be talking bad about David? Who cares about David outside of Big Brother fans? He's not on their radar.
He's a non-issue.
No one's gonna there's not gonna be a news article in 2 weeks after the episode airs where it says David promised money to BLM and did not. That would be
and then said, I'm not doing that. I damn you.
The taxes were too much. Come on. And even if he does, technically, he should kind of donate it because any money that he makes whether it be from his stipend and also his appearance fee, like he's going to be paying taxes on it, and his taxes will be reduced by donations. So why wouldn't he donate to BLM or any other organization, charitable donation that he can reduce his taxes with?
Right.
So,
So he's not snowing us, but is it completely altruistic? I don't know, and it doesn't necessarily matter.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Like, it's
okay,
like we're
next
cutting
thing
hairs.
here.
We're cutting hairs about what it's so unimportant his gameplay that we're talking about that money.
JJ liked that one.
It's
Okay, we're getting some here from the live feeds from Daryl. So he's saying the most interesting chatter coming from the live feeds is when it sounds like Cody could have been eliminated from the OTEV early. David Alexander had not gone for the $10,000 prize instead. Cody could have been eliminated from OTEV. So that's the same comment. And then the move was frowned upon in the house, mostly by Danny, Nicole, and Memphis. Okay, but like whatever. Like it's
so you know why Memphis felt that way, right? Because Memphis believes David has to prove himself for whatever reason, which is nonsensical because it doesn't really matter.
Saying there, yeah, they're upset because David took the money over safety, especially how dare they? Because that could have been their money, right?
Yeah. Look, does David could just like, is he going home? The writing on the wall that people want to keep him, and that it's Kevin to be gone.
Kevin, I think, is going to go first because that's what Cody needs to happen now.
So if he doesn't feel like he's in a threatening place, why would he?
Yeah, we might get some chatter, and they might like go, "Oh, maybe we should get rid of David before Kevin." And I'm sure, like maybe on Wednesday we'll be talking about that. Maybe Danny, Memphis, and Nicole are trying to rally around that, but I don't think that it's ultimately going to happen. I don't think that they're going to ultimately go against Cody in this vote if he's saying no, Kevin is my target.
Like honestly, they should get rid of David because David has come close to winning. A lot more challenges, a lot more competitions than really, right? But come on,
here,
really.
David knows he'll be cut within 2 to 3 weeks, so that's why he took the money.
Why not? Why not?
Well,
like I could understand it both ways. I'm not going to begrudge him or anything like that. I would kind of wish if I was Kevin that if David had a chance, he took himself off the block so that like Cody would have some blood on his hands. And I guess that's what Memphis, Nicole, and Danny were hoping for, that Cody would get some blood in his hands. Because all of them are the impression that it wouldn't be them. Like Nicole would hope that it would be Danny. He can convince Danny. Memphis could hope that it's either Nicole or Danny. And Danny hopes that it was Christmas. But,
Jaemeel, where do you stand? If you win money in the house or in Survivor or whatever, like these big lump sums, these 5,000, these 10,000s, like Tyler and Danny did tonight, and as we're hearing about, David has now won some money. Is it always you always deny it if it's like sort of secret and you don't know about it, or should you just come clean about it? What's the best thing to do?
Deny. Unless it's public, you deny it.
Because
you can use it for like leverage later on. It's like, hey, shoot, man, you're playing such a good game. It looks like you're going to win the top prize. Man, that top 2 money, that second place money, still looking good. I haven't won anything. Tyler, I have a sinking suspicion that he and blah, blah, won for the golfing thing because it looks a little bit too happy. Nicole had some money and she gave it to Devon. That was her choice. She had an opportunity, right? I need to look after me and mine, right? So please, like, help me out. I've been with you to the end, right? Let's get that top 2, right? You're deserving 1. I hope to be deserving 2, right? Whatever it takes, whatever conversations or positions you have. Let's say it's you get a Yankee swap again. I don't see why you would have that, right? You'd rather at this point either the veto or you get the money because you don't want a punishment, especially this close to the end, right? There's not going to be that many powers that are going to be given, so why not the money?
Right. Well, here in David's case, Daryl's saying at first they thought it was just another rookie move by David. until the second possibility snuck in. Dun dun dun. That being said, David had inside information that Kevin was the true target, and then he felt secure enough not to press that hard for to win the veto. I don't blame David, especially after everything he's been through this season. So I think that they're being kind of unreasonable. Question here from JJ: if Christmas were on the block, if Christmas and Kevin were on the block, who would go home? Who would go to the jury? Who would get evicted of those two? If that's what we had on Thursday.
I think Cody would ask Christmas to be put on the block.
And she'd probably say yes.
Possibly. But people would take shots at her. And then, like, Kevin would still go home.
Christmas loves faith. She loves to believe in the team. That's why she went up before when Enzo. I know that she had no chance of going, but we saw this in 19. She went up on the block on other occasions for Paul or for what was good for the alliance, or she would ask people to do the same kind of thing because she's very good at, like, she's the party whip, as we've talked about, and she will sort of like, see, I did it and I'm safe. If you just believe in the team, if you have faith, you will succeed with this game or in her version of competitiveness. So yeah, like if she went up, I could see, yeah, like even Danny and Nicole wanted to take her out. Like Cody pushing for it.
Memphis wouldn't.
Memphis
Enzo
wouldn't.
might. Right,
Okay,
so
that's two votes.
Right? What would David do? I think David would fall in line with Cody.
David would want to keep Christmas, I think, wouldn't he? No, over Kevin.
No.
Is he
would,
is he allied with Kevin anymore? Are they a duo?
Not really. They haven't been. If Cody says, "Hey, we're gonna do final 3,"
so you don't think it's possible he could say, like, okay, Christmas came to me and we built some trust, and maybe I have something with her, so I'll vote to keep her.
I think Memphis would want to keep her. Enzo would vote her out. Nicole and Danny probably vote her out. Although, if you're Nicole, you'd actually want Christmas to stay, so you vote out Kevin.
Yeah.
So it might be a 3-3 tie, and Cody was like, "Don't worry, I got you." If it comes to a tie,
I think to your point that Nicole and Danny are completely capable of voting out Christmas. They just don't want to do it before threats like Kevin are out because they're so afraid. Big threats. Well, statistically they could win HOH, and then you could go on the block and you could go, and they just want to like play this ironclad game that won't work, right? So, or just is impenetrable, and it's working so far, and so they're like, it's going to go wrong, and Cody's going to lose his $500,000.
Yeah.
So anyway. Anything else?
And that's the real focus of this entire season. Cody has to get his $500,000.
Any other questions for people watching the stream for tonight's episode?
Stream.
Any other updates from the feeds that we should be aware of? If not, we will probably have to sign off for tonight. We've had a lot of podcasts this weekend on all of our various channels, so which I will definitely plug. Including today, we had 2 of them. So I'm definitely going to get some sleep tonight. So thanks for watching and listening, everybody. We're going to be back here Wednesday to talk about the veto episode where we know from the spoilers we just went through that Cody is going to be winning the HOH, and we expect that the noms will stay the same. However, who knows? Maybe Christmas will go up. We'll see. And then we'll be here Thursday to talk about the triple eviction because 3 people are going, and it's got to be. We're going to have something to talk about, even if we're mad about it, Jaemeel. We're going to have something to talk about that night. So Wednesday, I think, will be a little slower, but Thursday, I think, will be a little bit wild. Final question here is, or comment from JJ. Dave, statistically, they could have all won HOH all season, but they did not. Yes, you're right.
Sure.
It's not been impressive. There's been a group of people who are winners, and there are a group of people who are losers. And the group of people who are losers are slowly shrinking. And so that just in terms of being competitors, not losers as people. I think that these are the people I've been rooting for. But man, Jameel's looking at me like, well, maybe they kind of are. I'm like, yeah, maybe they kind of are too. But
look, I lost today. I'm a loser. I am.
Oh, what? No, in the in Trivial Debates.
And trivia debates.
Yeah. So if you guys, if Trivial Debates is our other channel, we did today. If you haven't, well, Jaemeel kind of just told you what happened, but we did this triple threat
I
tag
didn't say
team
who
thing.
won. I didn't say who won.
We just Jaemeel did not win, and it was a lot of fun. We were arguing about movies, sports, TV, and more over there. Or what's movie should have had a sequel? What character death on TV was the most devastating? What's the worst music video? A lot of good stuff. You can check that out. It was a ton of fun. It was a long one, but we really liked it. And then other on Live Long and Podcast, which is our Star Trek channel, we do 4 times a week. We do different Star Trek podcasts. Tuesdays we do Deep Space Nine rewatches. We're just going on to episode 6 of season 2. On Wednesdays, we do original series Star Trek, which is with Kirk, Spock, and all of them. We do that with Jody and Adam Woodward and my dad. And then on Thursdays, we do Star Trek Lower Decks, as we're just wrapping up that season, going into episode 9 of 10. So we have 2 more weeks there. And then we're expecting to do kind of a final wrap up. We said today we're going to, after we watch the 10 episodes, we'll probably just talk about the whole season as a final synopsis as we head into Star Trek Discovery kicking up in just a few weeks, which will also take the Thursday spot. And Star Trek Radio Theater is our other channel, which is our other podcast on Live Long and Podcast, which is where we reenact Star Trek episodes in some funny voices and some more like authentic acting attempts. So we just did this Deep Space Nine episode called The Reckoning this past yesterday, and next time we're going to be doing a next gen episode called Sub Rosa, which is going to be when Beverly Crusher and a candle got really romantic. So it's definitely
giving up the ghost.
Giving up the ghost, and so I'm playing Beverly Crusher, and Jessica Chan might be playing the candle. So here we go. Space Ghost. So check that out next weekend. Thanks for watching and listening and commenting, everybody. Make sure to subscribe to all our channels. Jaemeel, thank you so much. Jeff, wherever you are, we hope you're fine. And we'll yeah, he's golf. He's going. He was bred. He thinks I was bred for this. Maybe I need to. If I just do my mini putt, I can go on Big Brother Canada and win all the money. So it's not a bad bet, Jeff. Keep going. You follow your dream, wherever that dream may take you. All right.